Seneca, How to Stop Fearing the Loss of Everything You Have. You can have a good job, a roof over your head, people who care about you, and still lie awake at 2 a.m., running through everything that could be taken away. The promotion that might not come, the relationship that feels a little too fragile, the health you've started to take for granted. You're not in danger right now, but your mind keeps rehearsing the danger anyway. Almost 2,000 years ago, a man named Seneca had the same problem, except his stakes were higher than most. He was one of the richest men in Rome, advisor to an emperor who could order his death with a single word. He had everything to lose, and he knew it could vanish overnight. His answer wasn't to grip tighter. It was to loosen his grip on purpose. In this video, we'll walk through how to stop fearing loss using the philosophy of Seneca. Whether you have a lot or a little, this works. Rehearse the loss before it happens. Most of us avoid imagining the worst. We treat it like inviting bad luck. So when something bad does happen, it lands like a sucker punch. Not because it was so terrible, but because we never let ourselves picture it. Seneca taught the opposite. He practiced something later called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortunes. Quietly, deliberately, he would imagine losing the things he valued, not to torture himself, but to take away their power to ambush him. He wrote that nothing happens to the wise man against his expectation. The shock of loss comes from the assumption that things will always stay the same, but nothing stays the same. The job, the savings, the people, all of it is on loan from a world that never signed a contract with you. Here's how to practice it. Once a week, take 5 minutes and quietly ask, what if this ended? The income, the relationship, the comfort. Don't spiral into panic, just look at it directly. Notice that even in the worst version, you'd still wake up the next morning. You'd still have to make a choice. You'd still be you. When you've already met the worst in your imagination, it loses its ability to surprise you. And surprise, not the event itself, is where most of our suffering lives. Separate what you have from who you are. We say, I am successful, I am secure, I am doing well. But listen to those sentences. We've attached our identity to things outside us. So when the things wobble, the self wobbles too. Seneca pointed out that fortune gives and fortune takes. The mistake isn't accepting her gifts, it's believing the gifts are you. He called these things borrowed adornments. A man who decorates himself with what he can lose has built his identity on rented ground. Think of it this way. If you lent someone a coat and asked for it back, would you call them a thief? Of course not. It was always yours. Seneca said we should treat our possessions the same way, as things lent to us that may be called back at any moment, by anyone for any reason. When they are returned, no injustice has been done. So when the fear rises, try renaming it. Instead of I might lose everything, say, I might have to return some of what I was lent. That small shift moves the ground under your feet. You stop defending a fortress and start holding an open hand. The person who knows their things are borrowed enjoys them more, not less. There's no anxiety in a guest who knows he's a guest. Stop living in the future that hasn't arrived. Here's something strange about fear of loss. The thing you're afraid of almost never exists yet. You're not suffering from the actual loss. You're suffering from a forecast, a movie of a future that statistically probably won't happen the way you've scripted it. Seneca wrote one of the sharpest lines in all of philosophy about this. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. He noticed that fear runs ahead of us. It's a kind of borrowing. We pay interest on debts of misery we may never actually owe. We grieve a job before we've lost it. We mourn a relationship while it's still in our arms. We spend today's peace buying tomorrow's disaster. The cost is brutal, because you can only ever live in one moment, and fear robs that moment for a future that may never come. So when you catch yourself spinning, ask one question. Is this happening right now, or am I just visiting it in my head? If it's not happening now, you have nothing to do about it now, except the next real thing in front of you. Make the coffee, send the email, take the walk. You are not required to live in a future that hasn't arrived. Seneca's whole point, bring yourself back to the only place anything can actually be done, the present. Build your worth on what can't be taken. If your peace depends on things that can be taken, your peace can always be stolen. Seneca's solution was to anchor his sense of worth in the one place fortune can't reach, his own character. He believed the only thing truly yours is your mind, your judgments, your responses, the way you choose to act. No emperor, no market crash, no betrayal can touch that without your permission. They can take the house. They cannot take how you behave when you lose it. This is the foundation everything else rests on. The job is borrowed, the money is borrowed, your reputation depends on what other people think, so it was never fully yours to begin with. But your integrity, your courage, the way you treat people when things fall apart, that's the one estate no one can repossess. So invest there. When you feel the fear of loss, redirect the energy. Ask, if I lost the external thing, what kind of person would I want to be in the aftermath? Then start being that person now before you have to, because that practice, that character, is the only wealth that compounds no matter what the world does to you. Practice voluntary loss on your own terms. This is Seneca's most counterintuitive advice and the most powerful. He didn't just imagine loss. He rehearsed it physically. Despite his enormous wealth, Seneca recommended setting aside days to live as if you had nothing. Eat the simplest food, wear the roughest clothes, sleep without comfort, then ask yourself honestly, is this the thing I was so afraid of? The point is to discover firsthand that the floor is much closer than you think. We fear the fall because we imagine it as bottomless. But when you visit the bottom on purpose, when you choose discomfort instead of having it forced on you, you learn it's survivable. Often it's even peaceful. You can do a modern version of this. Spend a weekend without buying anything. Skip a meal on purpose. Turn off the climate control. Cancel the subscription you think you can't live without, and notice that you can. Each small voluntary loss is a vaccine, a little dose of the thing you fear, so the full version can never overwhelm you. After enough practice, something shifts. You stop living in defense of your comforts. You start to feel free, not because you have less, but because you finally know that less wouldn't break you. So let's bring it together. Rehearse the loss before it comes, so it can't ambush you. Separate what you have from who you are. Stop bleeding peace into a future that hasn't arrived. Build your worth on the one thing no one can take, and practice losing on purpose so the world can never threaten you with it. Seneca's whole life was a high-wire act over a long drop. What kept him steady was never the height of his fortune, but the steadiness of his own mind. He knew that everything outside him was on loan, and so he walked without trembling, holding it all with an open hand. In the end, the world could take his possessions, his position, even his life, but it could never take the one thing he had made truly his own. And that same freedom is waiting for you the moment you loosen your grip. So this week, choose one comfort you're afraid to lose and quietly practice living without it. You may find that what you feared was never the loss itself, but the forgetting that you could survive it.